All right. I think we're going to get started in a second here. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out. This is the second of two little showcase videos we're doing here. The first one you can find on YouTube. I think the YouTube channel is just MinnHax Game Jam on YouTube, so if you search that, you should be able to find it. And at this point, you can also go check out the main MinnMax channel, where Hanson, JeffM, and Hyperdot developer, what's his name? I forgot.
Charles McGregor.
Charles McGregor. They did a stream playing through all the games, and that was really cool. Well, all of them with two exceptions, which we'll get to today. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of the tabletop submissions, and the rest of them we didn't get to. But first, we're going to be starting with another quick look at 3 days, which we did look at last time, but the recording had the music really, really low, and we wanted to show that off real quick because the music in that game is awesome. So I think we're going to kick that off here. You should be able to click on Ray's stream here and see 3 days, and we're just going to, again, run through this one quickly just to show the music off because the recording, you couldn't really hear it last time. And again, I think we have the credits pulled up here. 3 days. The music was by MakeItUnclear, and then the rest of the dev was from BluMayhem, Jeorin, and tamekitty.
Yeah, and I know they talked through it a little bit last time too, but yeah, like how much work that they put into it and some of the other ideas they had, but I know they were, one of their team members had to work through a hurricane as well too to get it done, so
yeah.
Big props to them.
Wow.
And I love, it's just the most game jam thing ever, that the final EXE, I believe, is called X Days, and they talked about how they had originally planned for 6, and then they only got to 3, and that's just the most game jam thing ever. You never really know how much you're going to have time for and what you're going to have to cut and all that, but yeah, they got a lot in here. I think there's 4 different tracks that we're hearing here for the music, and they're all pretty awesome.
Yeah, and Ray's running through it quickly so we can get to the credits, because that's one other track on the credits. While we're talking about music too, when Hanson and JeffM and Charles were playing through it, they brought up the music and how great everybody had done on it. And I know Hanson posted in the MinnHax Game Jam channel for people to DM him about the music. So if you worked on any of these games, especially the music, and you haven't already, send him a DM or go check that post in the MinnHax Game Jam channel, because I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do it, so I don't want to put words in their mouth, but
It's a special super secret project.
Correct. So, awesome.
All right.
Thank you for playing through that again, Ray Luaza.
All right, and I think we're going to have Ray again here with Tunnel Puzzle by J. Martin.
And if you're on the call and feel like talking, feel free to hop in, or you can drop thoughts in the text channel as well, too.
Come on, I might chime in. Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, thank you. This is one of the first ones I checked out, too. And I love the idea of making a puzzle game just in general, too, but especially for a game jam. So I know that you were kind of just doing the idea behind this one, but kind of where'd you get the idea for some of this stuff too? Have you seen anything like it before? I have not.
Not really. I guess the reason I wanted to do a puzzle is because I figured the programming might be easier, and I think that was probably, I don't know how correct that was because I didn't find it very easy at all, but that was my thinking. So yeah, I wanted to do a more complicated level, but it just was too difficult, so I ended up just keeping it simple. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, but there's a few refinements I would like to make, but in general, I think just getting that done, I was pretty happy with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is like where you could build upon that, obviously, having 2 months for a game jam too.
Yeah.
But Ray Luaza already ran through it as well too. But so the idea for this game is you can describe it better than I can, but you have that background and you're trying to figure out how the puzzle fits together. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. And so you basically would see where the balls bounce and then kind of work out the physics of it from there. this one obviously isn't a great example because it's super easy, but the idea would just be that you might experiment a little bit, and obviously you'd probably have some kind of lives system or, just some elements to make it a little bit more gamified once the final version was done.
So like every time you take a shot and it's not finished correctly, you're losing a life or something? Is that the idea?
Something like that, yeah. Or if you make an incorrect guess, maybe, or it might just have like a timer on there too, something like that. I hadn't fully decided yet.
Cool. And what program did you use to make this?
That was Unity.
Cool. Did you have a lot of Unity experience before this?
Basically none. I went through a Udemy course fairly recently, conveniently just before this was announced. So I figured this would be a great time to give it a shot. But a lot of my work was just like YouTubing specific how to code like something similar to what I had in mind, and then trying to piece it together, or using a lot of the videos from the course to try and piece it together.
That's honestly the biggest advantage of Unity I've found over the years is literally any problem you have making some genre of games, someone else has Googled that problem before. Like first-person shooter, bullet disappearing, how do I fix this? And there's a million people online who've already been like, oh, it's probably, colliding with the gun, it's probably doing this, it's probably like, people have answers if it's a Unity-specific problem, which I find very useful.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the most niche things that I was able to find answers to, so that was pretty helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Did you?
And I know you got, like you said, you had some ideas about other stuff too. So that's what the screenshot that Ray Lawaz is bringing up now. But these are just some of the other ideas that you were thinking about, right? Is that?
Yeah, just some, like, that's a slightly more complicated level. I thought maybe some kind of like teleport tile might be fun and be a bit tricky, and then there's some tiles on there that are supposed to be like switches that when you go through it once, it'll switch the direction, or it might become a wall when it was an open thing. Just some more tricky stuff like that. So, and I actually did pixel art those myself, which was also my first pixel art foray too. So that was kind of fun.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can very easily picture this as a fully fledged product of like, World 1 introduces some new tile that you have to work with, and then it's like, oh, you got to World 2, now there's these teleporters, and that makes it completely different, trying to figure out how everything works together. And then World 3 has the opening and closing doors, and I think this has a ton of potential.
Yeah, you said like that first one wasn't a good example, but I think it's a perfect example because that's how you kind of quickly understand how it works and can build upon it. We got a question from Vaughn over in the text chat. And they say, do you plan on developing this further as a hobby?
That was my next question, too.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I definitely will, yeah. Somewhat just because I want to see if it ends up being fun. Like, if I actually get it refined and have, like, all the gamification, I want to see if it is fun. And also just kind of like you said, since I've already started it, it'd be a good way to kind of work on my coding skills, my Unity skills for other projects in the future. So I think I definitely will.
Awesome. Yeah, if you have any progress to check in with, you can either drop it in the Game Jam channel or even just the community dev and coding. I'm sure you can find people to bounce ideas off of or to play test and stuff like that. I'm definitely down, so I want to see where this goes.
Absolutely. I will do that.
All right. Well, awesome job. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Oh, thanks a lot for checking it out. I look forward to seeing more of the games, and congrats everyone. The MinnMax official video was amazing too, so everyone did awesome.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, we will hop over and I will bring up this ComplementaryWater. I don't know if you're wearing your Halloween costume today. Complimentary blood bags, but we can take a look at, and correct my pronunciation, but Orphean or Orphan, Subpeona the Dead.
Orphean, like frigate Orphean for Metroid Prey.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome. Can y'all see my screen okay?
Yep, looks good here.
I can see it.
Cool. So you're welcome to kind of talk us through however you would like ComplementaryWater, but I can kind of talk about some of the parts that really jumped out to me just from reading it. I have not gotten a chance to play it yet, but I understand that maybe you have gotten a couple of play tests in so far.
That is, yes. I was able to test with the delightful Nick from Atlanta and Shazirah here, in addition to testing in person with some coworkers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Did you? I mean, I guess quick aside, did it work better on? Did y'all play on Tabletop Simulator and then in person? Did it work better one way or the other?
Well, with the physical elements, TTS would have been like the ideal kind of testing ground online, but since it was all kind of hashed together, we actually had, we were like, I was like doing the physical component and then they were rolling the numbers, so we were like Frankensteining together dice results using like pictures and stuff. So
Nice.
it was pretty hammed together, but yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's playtesting, whatever works.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, and so we might have people on the call or even watching the YouTube later who aren't as familiar with tabletop RPGs, but would you call this a tabletop one-shot? Kind of what makes that different?
not just a one shot, but a one sheet, right? It's a squares and rectangles situation, but the goal is to have your entire game fit on a single piece of paper, front and back. I strongly recommend it, even if you haven't know a lot of RPGs, because it's kind of one of the lowest barrier to entry ways to participate in a game jam and do something that's pretty fast. You know, I was finished pretty long before the deadline, which feels good because I've done a lot of jams and I've definitely been like rolling pizza into my mouth at 11:59 p.m. trying to get a thing finished. So you too can make one.
Yeah, and it's the case where the constraint of doing a one sheet kind of helps you focus and figure out what is actually important to your game, because tabletop games are almost the easiest to get carried away with feature creep and just adding in everything you can think of, because it doesn't necessarily take development time. It's kind of just typing out all your ideas, whereas at least with if you're making a digital game, you can at least be like, okay, well, I don't have time to add multiplayer, I don't have time to add whatever pie in the sky feature I can think of. But with a tabletop game, you kind of can just add everything you think of, so constraining yourself to just the front and back of a sheet definitely helps focus it and figure out what's unique about your game, which is cool.
It definitely also helps with getting people to play. You mentioned not getting to play yet. This is a evergreen struggle of role-playing games that aren't called Dungeons and Dragons, is getting people to try them. And so being a nice small package definitely helps with that. Famously, there's some one sheets that will come in and out of these spheres. I think it was with Giant Bomb and Austin Walker for one of their New Year's things, did Laser Feelings, which is a pretty famous one sheet. And your two stats are your lasers and your feelings, which is very good. Speaking
of, I love all of your kind of offbeat stats and things on here, meat basically being what, physical, health kind of, your
demons,
yeah, and then what were the other one? There's your ego and your super ego being stats that are on your character, stuff like that is interesting.
The great line, kill demons and punch their corpses. I guess briefly on the aesthetic of it, I had wanted to this was, I don't know how many people, I'm curious, show of hands, who else did this, already had an idea and wanted to use this jam as an opportunity to get yourself to do it, because I'd been kicking this around for a while and then was you know what, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah, mine was absolutely the same case of this is something I wanted to do for a while that I thought fit the theme and kind of worked a way to make it fit.
Fitting the theme was the hard part for this. I was I want to make a game about arresting dead people that died before they could go to court in just the most horrific nightmare satire imaginable. We had one really great test where the machines, they all died trying to break this person out of Satan's jail to then just immediately put them in a human jail, so to satisfy the legal system. And then the human jail ended up, they just gave the person like a small fine because they were well connected in life and therefore were also well connected in death. So it was all for a $2,000 fine. They all gave their lives.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, but the getting better part of it, I kind of retroactively hammered in, is that the machines have these manufacturing flaws, and by intentionally disrupting your own progress with your manufacturing flaws, you permanently improve your character with like virtues and elements of a human soul. So as you play, hopefully your machine goes from kind of a 40k dreadnought giant rectangle with a chainsaw into something that's a little bit more recognizable as a character, and to then have that introduce some new problems and an ambiguous ending when you try and escape hell, because what you're trying to do is changed. When you came in, you were trying to mindlessly enforce the laws that you were told to, and when you leave, that might not necessarily be the case anymore.
Yes, yeah, I love that too. You return to the mortal plane, or you are damned to stay. One of the two.
Yes. Yeah, that's your robots. We should explain what the game is.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
We don't need to spend too much time on it, but the hook is that we have a portal to hell, and if you go to hell, though, you're stuck there because any soul in hell is stuck. So we build drones and send those to hell instead. That's where you come in. You don't have a soul.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the stuff that jumped out to me is like your ego, super ego, and what you were just talking about, developing virtues that you may have a soul at the end of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of bad, but it's a very like Matrix-esque problem where it's like, well, you can live in corporate ownership forever, or you can try and develop a soul and you'll be really punished for it. You'll have to live in hell war forever if you do.
Sure.
But yeah, it was fun. Thank you again, Shazirah, and I don't think Nick from Atlanta is here, but y'all were my first testers before I did any other testing. It was very helpful.
That's awesome.
I also just wanted to say real quick, I really love the tone that you hit with it, where obviously on paper, it'd be really easy for this to be like very dark and dour, but I think you found good avenues to sneak some humor in there. Just stuff like the how one of the crimes, they can be as serious as, homicide, crimes against humanity, but it could also just be perjury. Like you could just be hunting down, people who just lied in court and are sentenced to 1,000 years in hell.
If you go to the back, the time their court case takes and their punishment is based on the crime and how powerful they were in life. So if a destitute person without a lot of support commits a minor crime, they could still be internally imprisoned for it. And if a rich person kills a man, they might just get off with like 2 years. It's pretty awful.
Sounds about right.
It's real bad.
Not guilty, no punishment.
Thank you, Vaughn, in the chat, by the way.
I just wanted to say, I think on the first page where with the difficulty sum, where you have the GM remove one of the dies, I think that's like absolutely brilliant and such a convenient way of getting the GMs like participate in the game in a way within a constrained set of rules that also then smooths out the rolls. Like that's so smart.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I low-key think that's like the thing to take away from this game and like put in the next game. It's not to be like, oh, the thing is great, but like I agree with you. It's like this kind of the hope was to fix problems that I had with other games, and one of those is like the weird failures of arbitrary difficulty number setting that like a game like Pathfinder D&D has, but then the lack of flexibility that an apocalypse system has with like static numbers and being like, well, how can we find a thing that is as clean as the clean stuff, but is also as capable and expandable as the settable numbers from like D20 systems.
That is really interesting.
Next with that thing.
That is really interesting because in my experience, most games that get popular either fall into, those two buckets of they're either like the D&D Pathfinder style or the Apocalypse system style. So yeah, finding a middle ground there is really cool, I think. Especially just because I feel like with groups that I've run, I either have people who just want to focus on like the fun role-playing sort of stuff and don't want to do crunchy D&D numbers, or the opposite, where people would be bored of not getting to crunch any numbers or anything with Apocalypse. So there's definitely a market out there, I think, for some sort of middle ground that's not being served.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Looking forward to this blowing up and being the hottest new game on Roll20.
I might like print like 100 of these next time I go to Gen Con or something and just start throwing them at people. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know if the game is good enough for that, but maybe.
But like you said,
You should tell them. You should throw it at them and be like, MinnMax! That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll say MinnMax made this, and then I'll put
No.
put horrible things on it.
Officially sanctioned merch.
Yeah, that's right.
just yell at MinnMax and it's promo. There you go.
Yeah, paper airplane it and just like Hail Mary right into the Gen Con crowds.
Yeah, but like you said, even if it isn't this game specifically, just taking if the takeaway is this new the difficulty sum and the dice stuff that you did, and you take that into future projects, I mean that's a successful game jam to me, is finding one little thing to latch onto that you're really happy with and you want to keep moving forward with. So
Vaughn has a question for you, by the way.
Yeah. I'll answer this last question, I think, and then we can move on. I want to see other people's games. How's planning go for a game like this? It's a little funny, right? Since it has been specifically the Metroid Prime Frigate Orphean, like just the word Frigate Orphean sounds sick, and I was like, I have to make a game of this, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but didn't know what it was. Generally, the planning of it is pretty loose. I've done it enough times that I don't need to make a whole action plan anymore, like specifically the one sheet format, but you need a core conflict resolution system, which is how you're rolling dice. You need a character creation section and like need to decide what the most important parts of your player's characters are. You need, I think, a system in some way for encouraging non-optimal play, right? In this case, it's like the superego, the intentionally screwing up to advance yourself. That's where a lot of the good role-playing comes in. I should probably look at it myself.
Feel free to point me to any parts you want to highlight or scroll through it too. But yeah,
No, it's fine. It's pretty loose. It's
basically
pretty loose,
it sounds
right?
like a lot of what you put in here in terms of the mechanics and stuff is based on reactions to other things you've played that got you rolling on some of these ideas, like you were talking about with the dice. The longest time on things like this isn't the writing of the rules, it's the fitting to the one sheet, since you're so space limited. And so I pretty early on, maybe like 5 or 6 days in, move from a Google Doc to the final. This is an Inkscape file, which is the same as an Illustrate file. I think Illustrator is like kind of a nice way to do this kind of thing, but that's the one kicker, is you need to remember like how much space you have the entire time you go, because you don't want to write like a 10-page Google Doc and be like, well, I can compress this down, and then realize you can't. So moving to the final size, this is size 10. I have an alternate version of this with serif fonts that are a little easier to read. That was one of I think it was Nick from Atlanta's recommendation that I didn't upload because updating them both is a pain. But yeah, just the space constraints, having a core resolution, a character creation, and a system to drive suboptimal play are like the 3 things I think you need. Awesome. All right. Any final thoughts here before we move on to the next game?
Thanks, folks. I don't know. it was fun.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, glad to hear it. This was super awesome. I loved getting tabletop submissions, and we'll get to another one later.
Yes.
But I love the variety of submissions we got.
Yes.
Absolutely.
1000%.
All right. I believe I am next, streaming a little bit of JeffM Quest. All right. Windows is mad at JeffM Quest. Probably a virus.
Yeah, we sorry about the Trojan.
It's like Deltarune when they released it, and it was like designed to make your computer be like, no, seriously, do not install this.
Perfect.
Oh, that's funny.
I had that happen to me with my own game. Building it from Unity, Windows Defender would just nuke it and say, don't worry, we got rid of that virus for you. And I would be like, I made that.
You don't need to work on this. It's fine.
All right.
Remember that thing you made? I threw it in the trash. You're welcome.
Exactly.
All right. 1 second here.
Cool. And I think we have a couple of JeffM Quest developers on the line too. So, yeah, Dylan, I know you were one of them. And, sorry, I've forgotten who all else was as well.
I think it's me, and I think we
All
have
right.
a first
Can
one as
everyone
well.
see JeffM Quest?
Oh, we do. Shawninator jumped in here. I didn't see that. Hi, Sean.
Yeah, I hopped in a little late.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
I have a question right away, actually. Is this picture, did you like trace Jeff's face, or is this freehanded?
For the, I'm not looking at the stream. Is it the main menu image?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
You can turn it up a tiny
both.
bit if you'd like as well, Jeff.
Both. I traced for the main outline of his head, and then detail-wise, I pretty much did it freehand. I don't do digital art very often. This is kind of a last-minute thing, and so I borrowed my girlfriend's tablet, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna hope that this works out okay, and so, yeah.
I love it. The fear in the eyes is really...
Yes, that's the big change. He looked different in the original photo. He looked happier or more angry. I don't know. He looked more different emotion, and I was like, I want him to look scared of this game. Like, he doesn't know what he's getting into.
All right. Gotta start with the showstopper. Let's play a little bit of
The game Ben's really good at?
That's right.
Yeah, this is
Sorry,
one
go
of the
ahead.
first mini games that I hopped into as well too. But how did y'all decide on how did you decide on how the game was set up anyways, with a bunch of different mini games, and what kind of games did y'all decide on? Was that everybody kind of thinking of different ideas and seeing what stuck?
We had a bit of a process. We just had our chat. It's like, all right, does anyone have any ideas? And we're just like, who knows? And so we started off with this idea of just like being in a house, working to improve things, you know, like doing chores. We were thinking of having like a whole like leveling system, and the games got easier as you went on, and definitely scaled back as we went on with that.
I'm jumping back to our Discord chat here to see if I can find the very first message from Pavel and give you an exact origin point here.
That's awesome. Sure.
Yeah, we had a design doc, we had a Trello, but in the end we didn't really use it because we realized that we had to scale back. It was all too much. The PM and me was just the project manager. I mean, was just screaming. But then I said, okay, yeah, we don't have the time to do it all.
I use the Trello to track personal stuff. I know you guys weren't using it, but everything I did I put in the Trello because I was like, I
That's
need to keep myself accountable to finish things on time.
Yeah, I didn't know this story.
So it looks like Pavel had said, like in Metrovanias, you often start at 0. You're very powerful near the end. But here, so the initial idea was that you would kind of suck at all the games at the beginning, and then you'd get better by playing them. And I think we kind of talked about that, like, well, it's not really fun to suck at games. So how can we figure out a way of making it feel like you're making some progress in your life, but also not make everything a slog to play? I definitely remember that being a bit of a chat there at the beginning.
So for the mini golf, initially it was a basketball game, or like an office waste basket. You throw paper, how do they call them?
That's a good note. I
Paper
forgot
balls,
about that.
right?
Yeah.
And the idea was
had like a working prototype of that, and it was just using like the what was it, the bocce
ball,
background or whatever,
and the Lego Ninjago character, yeah.
Pavel, do you mind if I send that video to chat of the prototype?
Not at all. No.
Okay, I'll see if I can do that real quick.
Yeah. But anyway, the idea was that you had limited power and accuracy, but then like you said. So we thought, no, it's not good if you suck for 15 minutes. Let's just skip all this. But then the getting better idea was lost. But in the end, it didn't really matter. I think we had good intentions.
So I'm uploading the prototype video Pavel had for what the golf game was beforehand. It'll be in chat here in a minute.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely take a look at that after we close out the actual app here.
Yeah, definitely.
You can see here. I mean, there's a technical issue here. So if the ball is not moving fast enough, it gets stuck to the walls, and I had no idea how to fix it. I mean, I'm just using Unity's built-in engine here. And for some reason it just like glues into the wall and moves along it. Doesn't bounce back, but well.
I think there's still something inherently fun
about
little mini golf though, so I think it seems like everyone's had a good time with it.
Probably, yeah.
Ooh, almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how many levels am I playing, or how many holes am I playing here? Because I might bounce out just so we can see some of the other mini games.
There's 9. You can use the Z button to skip one. It's a hidden cheat code.
I can probably finish it out.
Yeah, I saw.
Oh, that shot was looking good.
Number 6 was flashing because it will depend. It was interesting that Ray Luaza and I both realized that it's random which hole or which number you're looking for here.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. That was something they definitely worked on to try and get it where it wasn't the same every time, I imagine, so that we couldn't just boot up the game and type in the password and finish the game in 5 seconds. But
yeah,
right.
The 9 years is not. Oh, sorry, spoilers. But this is not.
That's
not
one of the ones that's hard stuck in there. You can't make Ben change what he says every time.
Well, you could cut out. For sure,
I would have been happy to.
1 to 9, but
it would have been a pain, but it would have been funny just to have him say a sentence and then have a very clearly cut-in number that he didn't say at the same. Yeah.
Well,
that's what Madden does every year, and it works for them.
Something I just remembered, because I just finished uploading the prototype video Pavel had to the text chat, but I just remembered, so in that video, I think it has the main menu music that we ended up using was actually the basketball music at first, and then it just kind of, things evolved differently, and so stuff moved around. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and so this one, you're just looking for the number in the grass, right?
You're being too tidy. No. Zigzag all around.
You gotta do it Ben
when Ben was going this long, I was like, what Magnus is this?
I think I found the number immediately when I played it, and then I just wrote JeffM in the grass as well, too. So I'll have some strategy.
As you should, because that's how Jeff mows his lawn.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is all accurate to real life?
He said so. He
Right.
included it in the videos. I mean,
based on Google Maps satellite pictures from his house. So.
Yeah, he has multiple stumps in his enormous front yard.
Oh. Alright, so I'm good as soon as I find that number then?
Yeah.
He should be able to, go inside.
And you said this was Unity you all were working in? What was everyone's familiarity with Unity beforehand going into this?
Everybody, my name's Ben Hansen. After 9 years, 80
So I did the Snake game, and I had not worked in Unity at all before, but like was mentioned previously, if you have an idea, someone's done it before in Unity, so I was able to find a very helpful tutorial that did most of it, and then I got the game working mostly, and then the hard part was figuring out the scenes and the menus a little bit. It's I'm not sure how to integrate with this with the bigger game, but
right,
figure it out.
That can be really hard, especially working remotely with everyone, trying to figure out, connecting everyone's trying to talk while I do it. Connecting everyone's work together once they're in disparate parts can definitely be tricky because everyone's gonna set it up a little differently too.
Yeah, in the end we used Git, and I think it worked pretty well. So everyone was working on their own branch, and then we merged it together. It was okay.
And I was on a slightly different version from Pawel, so we had some issues of every time I try to upload this, it's upload to the new version. So I think we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you went in and added these bricks later to make it better because it was just a random blob before.
Yeah.
So.
It's got a simple Snake charm to it,
It's got a Minecraft brick. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it came out. I think it all came out pretty well. I think we, because we didn't end up having a dedicated artist, and I think what we kind of all seems like probably subconsciously decided was just to kind of go with a mishmash of everything, so that everything feels very disjointed and like, yeah, we'll just play into that. And
yeah,
you know,
no common theme.
Yeah,
no
sometimes
common
there's
art.
a MS Paint JeffM face. Sometimes it's a real picture of him. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
It's eclectic. I think
It's
that's the word you're
eclectic.
using. For
Yes, yes,
you're
of
looking
course.
for.
But it totally works for the game as well too. Just
Yeah.
with the disparate mini games.
Bits and pieces.
Yeah, I think it works well.
I will
also
say
just-
Oh, sorry, Sean. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Designer note, we had a really good early version of JeffM Quest where it was just Check's Quest with JeffM's face like over the main character. We had a few good iterations.
It's a really good. I think I have a screenshot of it. I'll see if I can find it. Oh, it was good. That was Pavel's work. That was a beautiful, beautiful picture.
Yeah,
And
30 seconds in Paint, yeah. That's as far as my artistic capabilities go.
Since we just finished up, I was gonna say the snake mini game. The eating noises is just me making that sound into a microphone with a bit crusher on it. That's all that is.
That's game jamming.
Oh yeah, yeah, right at this very desk.
That's where the magic is made.
You should have done it
And
live
like,
while he
we
was
talked
playing.
about having a day-night cycle.
Oh, I
Like we
should've.
gotta do all the bonus points, and that was
Yeah.
came of that.
All right, let's see what I got.
Yeah,
here.
so you
this
can go back to
was
the other ones if you remember them too. I've already forgotten. That one's
9, 6, 4. Oh wait, no, this isn't. The bed was 5. What's this first symbol? This is the.
That's the
That's sync.
Sync, yeah.
Oh, okay, that was also 5 though, I think. And then
go back over to and check.
what was the
Yeah,
two?
yeah. So this was, yeah. We made it too easy, I guess, but we didn't want people to stumble around it.
No, I think that's a good call.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right.
A nice, beautiful image at the end.
Yay. Was it fun picking out these images for everyone? These are great selection.
I did this final cutscene here. It was Pavel's idea. I won't take total credit for it. Pavel came up with the idea of having this kind of stuff at the end, and then I just went and cropped them. It took a bit, but it was fun.
Beautiful. I love that that treatment on the top left of that
Yeah.
makeshift logo I made months ago also.
Thanks. I was trying to find some way to have it in, but not just have
Yeah, no,
a really
you
static image for like.
You
20
made it much
seconds.
better. I love that.
No, you did a good job. Thanks
was-
for giving us assets to work with.
That was
Yeah.
a 5-minute Photoshop job by me before Ray made all the really good art that you see on everything else. So,
Nice.
all right. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say we could. I know we talked over the stuff too, which is good. That's the way to do it. But the music is incredible on this one too.
Mhm.
How did y'all?
Yeah, it
was
is.
that one person, or how did you divide that out? And if I remember correctly, this one is on Spotify now.
Yeah. Don't inflate my ego too much. Yeah. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. That's audio and music was all me for this guy. Yeah, I just tried to. We came up with. There wasn't like a set thing at the beginning of like this is every single minigame we're gonna have. It kind of was over like a week or two that it was figured out. So as each one came up, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a theme song for this, a theme song for that. So you're outside mowing, so you got some kind of country style music. You're inside doing the golf, so it's kind of chill because you're supposed to be relaxing. Yeah. So anyways, that's all that. The very, very, very first piece of music that was done is the credits rock MinnMax theme thing. The day after we got the assignment or the game jam, the actual details, I had a studio day and I was like, you know what, screw it. I don't know if we're going to use this, but I'm just going to record a rock cover of the MinnMax theme. And, if we don't, we don't, but maybe I'll squeeze it in. And yeah, trying to think of anything else specific here. The snake one, I tried to make that just kind of sound 8-bitty or a little more simple compared to the rest of, like Snake. Make it sound like could be on a Nokia. Yeah, I think that's about it for that stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, last thing real quick. We're going to take a look at that prototype video you were talking about of what used to be a basketball minigame.
I just love the Lego minifig in here. That's so cool.
Yeah.
You can see you can see that my 6-year-old helped with the design. Yeah.
Yeah, we got fun behind the scenes pictures from Pavel of his kid.
Be good, have fun, let's go.
Oh, beautiful.
And the particle effects, yeah.
Yeah.
There
That's
are
awesome.
hidden characters in the main game as well. There's like 6 or 7 different sprites that can walk around the
Yeah,
house.
you can change your head that you're playing as.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh, really?
awesome.
I can even go with that.
Didn't even know
It's
that.
a hidden feature. Yeah.
I hope this guy just keeps showing up in all future prototypes you work on. I have a Google image with, it has like a watermark on it. It's like completely garbage picture of just a guy in like a green gorilla suit that I use as my default texture of just like, hey, this needs to be changed in basically all of my projects. So I hope this little Lego ninja guy keeps showing up. That'd be great.
Be your calling card when you're a famous game developer, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to reveal the secret of how we find the different. I don't know if they are all
Is it
Jeorin's
Pavel?
Or
Is it
give us a
space or Z or one of those two? I
I
think.
think it's F or
F. Is that it?
F.
Okay,
would
just
be.
when you're wandering around the house. Is
Just
that
hit
right?
every single key on your keyboard, and
Yeah.
one of them will make you change into Janet's Shrek face. So,
Beautiful.
Perfect.
All right, and everyone can try that out for themselves. As a reminder, all of these games you can download for yourself at the itch page, which I believe is just itch.io/jam/MinnHax. So you can go try them all out yourself. And I believe we are now moving on to our next game here, which is going to be Spoon by Spoon.
Yes. So
Stevo's going to stream this because Stevo worked on this.
I just want to say thank you guys for letting us have some airtime here and talk about stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for hopping in.
Of course.
Thank you.
And well done.
Cool. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. Can y'all see my screen in here? Okay.
Yep, I think we're all good.
Cool. Rapatika, I know you made it on, so you're welcome to hop on mic and talk through it as well too.
Yes, hello.
Hey, howdy. So we had a team of 4. It was myself, Rapatika, BiscuitsWithDavey, and GodsGarage. I'm sad that neither of them were able to make it for today, but we've got 2 of us. Rapatika, do you want to talk like how we kind of came across this idea too? I know we were kind of pitching a few different ideas at the beginning.
Yeah, I think BiscuitsWithDavey was the first. He came up with the idea of a game based around spoon theory, which would be a good way to tie it into the getting better theme. And I think what happened was like we all kind of threw a bunch of ideas out, and then we were all busy like the first full week of the jam, so we just kind of sat on those ideas and then came back and decided on what we were going to make the week after, and we ended up deciding on a game based around spoon theory. But I think in that week we had all kind of conjured up a different idea of what that original pitch was from David. So yeah, I think we ended up kind of making something that was kind of in between what we had all kind of pictured. Yeah.
It might be a little easier once you're looking at the game itself, but would you mind just explaining spoon theory for people who aren't familiar with that?
Sure. I think it's essentially the like a, I don't know, I guess a way for people with maybe anxiety, depression, things like that, to just kind of maybe visualize the amount of energy they have and how much energy it's going to take them to do certain things. So let's say it might take you 3 spoons to go outside and go for a walk, but you have only 1 spoon today, so you aren't able to do that kind of thing. That's my kind of elementary understanding of it, and we just turned that into game mechanics because it almost just kind of makes itself in a way.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly what you said. Yeah. So BiscuitsWithDavey was the one that had brought it up too. So and then GodsGarage wrote all the dialogue for our therapists here to kind of give a little bit of tutorial of what spoon theory is for people who had never heard of it, like myself before. Yeah, and so then he'd say if you are able to really work through it and complete your goals, then you're worth some champagne at the end. But our protagonist is still thinking about chili and Fleur's days. So
we had a lot of trouble trying to think of an end state for the game. We didn't know if it was like the character going on a long trip or applying to college or a job or something like that. So we ended up settling on champagne. So
it was certainly easier to put a bottle of champagne here, just kind of have it gray it out so that you're not able to click on it until you've gotten to the required 10 spoons.
The art on this is really nice, by the way.
Yeah, this is awesome.
No, right? I love it. It's so cute, these little things.
I wish we had BiscuitsWithDavey here to take credit for it, because he did an awesome job. So Rapatika and myself worked on the game. Rapatika also did additional art as well too, so we can kind of point out some of that in here. but BiscuitsWithDavey did all the backgrounds and a lot of our objects as well. And GodsGarage did all the music and sound effects for us.
Nice.
Yeah, we were kind of joking as we were going through that, like, me and Stevo were like, oh, we haven't done a ton of programming before. We'll try and make the most compelling game we can, but at least it's going to look and sound really awesome. So we were happy with that from the beginning.
Yeah, it reminds me of Unpacking from last year, just like the way you're switching between the different rooms in the house and kind of the whole, the vibe of the art too, which is a compliment for sure. That game was great.
Yeah, definitely.
That's definitely what it reminded me of too.
Thank you.
Same. Yeah.
We kind of realized partway through that was an inspiration for us as well too. That wasn't maybe even the original thought, but we kind of all landed on the same thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we're going through it, you can see as we're hopping around different rooms, we're making, doing different mini games for it as well. I'm not going to do a very good time on this one. Sorry, Rapatika. Make sauce.
I mean, this is not the best mini game, but it made it in the game at least.
But so we have a couple of mini games, and Rapatika kind of took point on most of the mini games too. But you can cook your meals. Then the real problem that we'll run into now is that we don't have our chores done. So you can't pop a bottle of champagne when your t-shirt is on your bed, obviously. So you'll have to do laundry. And then as you do that, that will clear out the blockers that are preventing you from finishing.
That was a good way to make it. We found that it was easy. Sometimes on the first day, you could kind of just cheese it and win instantly. So by adding in the chores blocking you from doing that, we artificially made it so you have to go at least through probably a few days to be able to beat it.
You always have to vacuum up your garbage, naturally.
As you do.
That's how I get most of my spoons, yeah.
They didn't they crash the game by vacuuming the shoes, I think?
They sure did, and I felt horrible about crashing, putting a crashed game for all the work that everybody else on my team did too. But like the last day, Rapatika was moving, so I said, oh great, I'll finish up and grab all the bugs, and I missed one of them. But yeah, it's when you go to vacuum, and if you click on one of the buttons over on the side, that's where we missed a catch word that will crash it.
Oh, interesting.
So if you give it a try yourself.
Of course, they found it.
Yep.
They found your one bug.
We found it.
It's not very clear that you have to bring the vacuum back over to the power outlet to like finish that mini game, so it makes sense that would happen.
Absolutely, and it's something, again, like you mentioned, Rapatika, both of us are relatively new, so that's something that once we have been working on it and playtesting it, you kind of stop seeing things that, you know, maybe are obvious for somebody who's playing it the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't really realize until I was watching Ben and the stream when they were playing that, man, our game just has way too much text in it. It's way too much reading. Like, we needed to maybe add more symbols in there, because it's just it's a bit much. But yeah, obviously when we're making it, we didn't really think about that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and different kinds of games too. Some of the stuff that I enjoyed doing were, as you'll notice, a lot of these values will change depending on if you have done specific things. Like if you water your plant, that will stay healthy for a few days, and that will give you spoons at the beginning of the day if your plant is healthy. But so that's kind of the part of the game, is kind of continuing to get better, if you will. And you keep repeating some of these chores to make them easy on yourself. It's like brushing teeth used to cost 1 spoon and take 1 hour, because you're a very slow toothbrusher. But as you continue to do it, then you can improve your toothbrushing skill. So there's an experience system kind of behind the scenes for a lot of these different tasks as well too.
I loved that. I said this in chat as well. The toothbrushing being critical to victory is incredible.
I know. I love that you said that. Thank you.
And you know, one thing too is like one of what were they called? The side quests, the bonus goals, whatever those were called, was to incorporate the 2 10s into your game, and that was actually really helpful for us, because we had it, you know, you could have a maximum of 10 spoons, which was the win state, and then we decided to do the negative 10 spoons because it kind of fit the theme as well. But having that limitation, I think, helped us balance the game, because we always knew what the end state was going to be, and so it was just about kind of modifying the numbers of the actual activities themselves, rather than changing around like, oh, how many should it take to win, or should you just lose if you get -10, which we ended up canceling having like an actual like game over state. But that was a nice. We tried to hit a lot of the side quests. Like obviously there's kind of a day-night cycle and stuff as well. But that 210s one, I think really helped us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Although it is a little weird to have negative spoons in spoon theory. We were kind of trying to figure out like what does a negative spoon look like? We'll just make it red.
I think that worked really well though. 'Cause, like, so I have chronic pain.
Okay.
And
yeah.
the thing that I didn't expect to like, you know, come away from any games in a game jam like really feeling something, you know? And like it was remarkable how closely a lot of these tasks aligned with my actual feelings on them. Like, oh, doing breakfast is just mildly more aggravating than making lunch. It's just like a small thing that actually is real for me. And the idea of like, oh crap, I forgot to water the plants. Can I put it off tomorrow? Like, that's gonna make my whole day worse tomorrow. And like it all, like every single thing just really worked like that. And it was really strange for me playing this game, but in like kind of a cool way.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
Agreed. Thank you. That's really sweet to hear. Thank you.
I just love the full circle nature of it all too, where spoon theory in real life is kind of like a gamification of your energy levels and what you can accomplish in a day, and then making a game out of the gamification of the real life thing is just kind of a fun like Ouroboros thing that I enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, and to completely change tones, we have a hidden JeffM in here. If you complete the Rapatika stargazing minigame, ta-da!
Yep. The man on the moon.
The man on the moon.
The classic formation we all know.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Yeah, you guys. It seems like you hit a bunch of the side quests.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciated having those side quests. They were fun for us to kind of try and go through as many as we could.
Yeah, I've always loved those from Global Game Jam, which I believe if anyone's interested, I think that's in January usually. I haven't checked on this year specifically, but if anyone's looking for another one, Global Game Jam's always a good time. It's the same sort of format where it's an overall theme to follow and then a couple like bonus objectives and things like that you can do.
There are also subgroupings of Global Game Jam, so it's not like you're just jumping in an ocean with like 300,000 submissions.
Right.
Nice, that's helpful. Thank you. Okay, and I'm kind of speed running it a little bit right now just so we can get to a quick ending screen. If you do need to speed run the game, you can go play the piano a lot of times. It was fun doing the piano as well too, because GodsGarage had a lot of fun making all of the soundtrack and the sound effects for it. And we incorporated the sound, the background music, and the sound effects kind of depending on how your actions go. So whatever number of spoons you start the day with will gauge which background music you're hearing throughout the day too.
So it's a little dynamic.
It is, yeah.
Very cool.
And then playing piano, you can see that you'll get a random result between 0 and 3 spoons. So depending on how well you play the piano, this is at the end of the day, depending on how well you play piano, you'll get a different tune that goes along with it as well too. But if you need to speed run, you can usually just play piano quite a few number of times to get near the end of the day. Oh, well, and I crashed it anyways.
Nice. Didn't even have to back in the shoes this time.
But then, so just at the very end, you get to the champagne and you pop a bottle of champagne to celebrate, and then we just play the opening theme again, and that's spoon by spoon.
Beautiful.
Cool.
All right, thanks so much, y'all. Any final thoughts before we move on from any of you?
Oh, just a big thank you to the organizers and everyone else for making some awesome games. It was a lot of fun to check everything out and just see all the positivity in the Discord chat. I'm kind of new to the Patreon as well, so it's kind of a good chance to get to know people. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. It was cool seeing everybody come together for all of this stuff. 100%. Okay. So I can share the next one too, and we can talk through our next tabletop RPG. Can y'all see my screen? And would you like me to zoom in on it? How is the font size?
I think it looks pretty good on this end.
Cool.
It's okay on my end.
Hello. I know we have at least one of the developers on here.
Hi. Okay, full disclosure, I'm on my phone. I cannot see the stream, and I have 10% left on my battery.
All right.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay. No. Let's do this. Let's do this. You asked earlier if I wanted to go early, and I didn't even think about it, so it's on me. Don't worry about it.
Okay, awesome. But go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay, so we really wanted to do something BetterQuest related, and we did a big group sort of like brainstorm and came down with cooking. Cooking is something that came up in BetterQuest quite a few times. So we went with that. If you read through it, it is character creation, and then you progress, and there's a twist, and you resolve. There is baked into it, their traits are basically games, friends, and getting better. And pursuing one of those three things is how you can potentially win the game. What else? Jeez. Okay, so it's like we really wanted to bake in the getting better part of it. So if you actually get through the rules, you'll notice that getting better to win that way is a little bit different. But the entire idea of it is that it's very collaborative, both narratively and mechanically, if you want to do the getting better aspect. So we really honed in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was just gonna ask some stuff, especially if you can't see. I know that'll make it difficult.
Please.
Okay. But the first thing that jumped out to me too is that it is a GM-less game, so that means everybody can play rather than one person being the game master. Is that right?
Yes. And it does, I think that might be a little intimidating for people who haven't played a narrative-based game before, but you have to kind of relax and go with it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it sounds like there are a lot of different elements in this as well too that are really interesting to me too. The first thing that jumped out to me is how you're building your recipe. So I don't. Everybody else should be able to see the table, but you roll a d6, determines which continent you start on, what ingredients you're working with, and how you prepare your entree, such as if you're cooking it over an open flame or just using a microwave, for example. That one cracked me
If you
up.
roll a 1, yeah.
Yes. Make a 5-course meal with just a microwave. And then right after that, you have the 5-minute recipe scramble where everyone has to find a recipe. I mean, how did you come up with that idea?
So it was actually a little difficult because it's a little hard to narrow down exactly a recipe creator, which is basically what this is, right? At first it was like, okay, we could have a huge table of like different like ethnicities when it comes to cuisine, and then I was like, that feels like it can get really messy really fast. And then there was ideas of maybe having them on cards. Some of these ideas were at first pitched as card ideas, so you just pick from a deck, but we went ahead with a table instead, in part because it saves time on our part.
And you first you roll your continent, and then if you have a map of that continent, then you roll a d6 onto it, and that determines which country you're basing your cuisine on as well.
Yeah. I really liked the idea of having a timed recipe scramble.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you can get an actual recipe out of this is very cool.
Yeah, it's the timer alone is fun. Like, it's very abnormal thing to be like having a time limit to do. But also, you have the thing as well with like telling a story about a cooking failure, I think it is. And yeah, this also being like, I could totally see doing this and then be like, well, now I actually want to make it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. That's the hope. There was a lot of angles in it, like trying to incorporate getting better. And that was definitely one of them. Like just raising your exposure to cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, ComplementaryWater talking about the different challenges that you might run into as well. All kinds of stuff like a rotten ingredient use. Surprise! How do you kind of cope with that you just stuck something rotten into your recipe? I think that would raise some fun storytelling, right?
Yeah, and part of that was at the very end, if you notice, there are 2 win conditions, kind of. It's like you can win the traditional way, or the table can decide to win with who had basically sold the most disaster-laden dish that they made. You just put yourself out there and you sell this terrible thing that horrible things have happened to, and you try to win and sell it against each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then part of that win condition being like the traditional or the like option to do it this way was is anybody else hearing that?
Yeah, I was like, I think it might be Jabo. I just put your mic on mute, Jabo, if there's something else coming through.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Whoops. Okay.
You're fine. Yeah, you were talking about the win conditions and kind of how that different ways about it there.
Right. So there's two ways of doing it, and one was like, okay, well, when it comes to getting better, is it the journey or is it the destination? So is it the thing that you made, or is it like the process of getting there? So it kind of leaves it up to the table to decide.
And I love also that it being like GM-less, and also towards the end there's a lot of like you're judging other people like how well they did selling their thing, but it's just has like a nice collaborative vibe to it where it doesn't feel like overly cutthroat or competitive or anything. It's everyone is trying to just have fun and tell fun stories, which I appreciate.
That was definitely an inspiration. I'm not sure how many people have played Fiasco, but that's definitely an inspiration from Fiasco.
Yeah, I love you have your little inspirations box there. A little Fiasco, some Iron Chef, and a whole bunch of MinnMax. I think that boils it down pretty well. Yeah, but I just love that with the theme of getting better and the alternate win conditions like you were talking about, how it seems like, you know, even if you don't win, as long as everyone had some laughs and had some fun telling their stories, then it's a success either way, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and, I mean, talking about collaborative, it's you know, one player is trying to win, but there is specific mechanics for collaborating and helping other people out as well too. So that's cool to see.
Yeah, I think it puts it right out on the table what a lot of tabletop RPGs are anyways, you know. When you're sitting there, it is a collaborative narrative storytelling experience, and if one player is getting in the way of another player being able to tell their story, it kind of makes it a jarring situation. Generally, the best tabletop RPG experiences are when you're all kind of just helping each other along and making the narrative flow.
Definitely. Yeah. And I imagine this being a GM-less one, you don't have somebody guiding you for that, so the fact that it's kind of built into the game sounds like a very smart way to do it.
Well, I think so.
Just seeing Stevo go over the text here for the first time, it looked like you guys got the I could get used to this snuck in there at some point.
Yes, I love all the names of these challenges and stuff are great. These are beautiful. Yeah, these are all very fun. Even the non-referential to MinnMax ones are just well written. Sure. They're very funny. But yeah, it's all great. Was that tablespoons or teaspoons is great.
A+ writing.
Yeah.
Very, very funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you did work MinnMax in as well too, where the host, enter the host, where any of the CLCs might show up and cause different things based on how far you are along in the game as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist. I think it created some interesting narrative moments there, because it's a little bit of a surprise, and they all provide different bonuses. Especially JeffM shows up. JeffM being JeffM. JeffM's kind of like the dad of MinnMax in a way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he just notices. He's just like, oh, I'm doing such a great job, you know?
Yeah, I did want to ask, it seems like there was a good amount of thought put into the different values on the different cohorts here. Can you speak to that a bit about how you came to the conclusions on the different values for the different cohorts?
Well, that I definitely had a lot of thoughts on. I don't know if I could share them without looking at the table myself. I think it would be a little hard. I do remember JeffM being the one standout. And some of them were like, well, some folks are like really. What is Janet's?
Janet's for hero is -2 getting better, and for stinker is -1 games, -1 friends for the player.
I missed the first part of that. Yeah, some of them like, hey, you know, Janet is just really like hardworking and she just gets through games. And some of them is like, oh, these folks are really charismatic and they just seem like they'd be really chill and they're more about the people.
Right, like Leo's, both of his interactions are just with your friends stat versus like Janet's being more about games, and yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when are we playing this?
Do you have a map around? That was the big thing too. I was like, rolling a map. I was like, nobody has a map anymore.
No, yeah. I mean, I could throw a die at my phone I could put my monitor on the ground and then roll a die on it. I'm sure nothing bad would happen.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way.
Do that trophy thing of throwing a dart at a globe.
I do not have a globe.
Or dart.
Or a dart. I have no dart.
I bet you could set up a pretty decent version in Roll20 or Tabletop Simulator or something like that too.
Yeah,
Just
probably.
gonna draw a projection of the Earth on my living room floor in peanut butter, and then roll a die. And the die will like stick where it lands.
Peanut butter, interesting.
That sounds on
choice.
theme. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to roll a die to see what type of butter you're gonna spread on the floor for it. But
Yeah,
Of course.
I could get used to this.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Ray Luaza said, if only MinnMax had a tabletop show. Alas.
Yeah. Yeah, again, if anyone wants to read through this for themselves or even download it and play it, this is also available as a PDF on the submissions page on itch.io/jams/MinnHax. So you can go check it out there.
Question real quick. Shazirah, I didn't catch. Have you guys gotten a chance to run this at all?
I got a limited playtest in for only the combat part. Combat
Okay, gotcha.
in quotation marks. The encounters, I should say.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we're going to need some people to check it out and report back on how it goes. Any final thoughts, Shazirah, before wrapping up here?
No, I had a great time with you folks putting this on, putting it together, getting to submit something. I was surprised I was able to submit something because of the format. It was so varied that it gave me a moment, or an opportunity, I should say, to get in. I otherwise would be super intimidated by game jams as a non-coding developer of any kind. I think last time I coded was in physics, my physics degree back in college.
Beautiful.
So it's been a minute. Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're all warmed up for next year. We're going to expect to see some hardcore programming out of you now that you're all that your feet are wet.
It's going to be very math-based.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's it. Just numbers. You're going to interact with numbers. You got it. It's fine. It's getting better.
Yeah, who would ever try to make a really systems-heavy, program-heavy coding thing for a game jam by themselves? That sounds crazy. That sounds stupid. I'm talking about myself. Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead, John.
No, I think that was it here. Unless any final thoughts, any final questions from anyone. All right. So I believe we're now moving on to our last game. Ray Luaza is gonna stream us some Trivia Tower Getting Better Edition. And this was made by Kickcamel, Nick McKernan, Matt Sayer, and Nubbyy. I believe we have.
This menu background slaps.
Oh, it's so good. I believe we have at least one of them in the building.
Yes, I'm here, Matt. I'm here. We did have Joe at one stage, but I think he popped in and out, so not too sure. But yeah, as you said, Nubbyy did the music. I was the lead. Oh, I was programming basically all of that, writing stuff like that, and then Nick and Joe. Nick was most of the art. Any of the bad art is me, because yeah. I spent a lot of time just kind of like putting stuff together and then showing it to the team, and then we'd like iterate from there. And yeah, like Nick came in with a lot of his really great art, and then Nick and Joe did some modeling, and Nick did the layouts as well for the levels. But yeah.
So
you
watching
say any of the bad art, I haven't seen any of them. This whole thing is incredible to look at.
Well, I made the original character models. I made them originally. I thought they looked terrible, but yeah, then at the end, Nick came in and added like hair and textures to the clothes on those, which made them look much better. I do think they look reasonably good now. Yeah.
Aren't you afraid that Sony will come after you for ripping off Little Big Planet?
Maybe, yeah. I guess I have to start learning how to legally defend myself.
No, I mean it as a compliment. No, I think they're fun.
Yeah, totally. Thanks. That's awesome.
watching the stream or the archive of them playing this, I was really impressed. You guys killed it on all of this. There's so much in this game. It's insane.
Yeah, this one goes for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have. I think I said this before, but I spent a lot of time on this over the last month.
It shows.
I just kept
really
working, and the whole team, all of us did. But yeah, I think I found like I'm only relatively new to game dev, so I've only been doing it for a couple of months, and I've fallen so madly in love with it, and I kind of do it all the time that I can. So yeah, this was a great excuse to just spend a lot of time learning things and trying new things.
Yeah, it's very easy to get carried away. I find, for myself at least, development is very momentum based. Like once I sit down to do it and have a bunch of time ahead of me, it'll be 5 hours have passed and I haven't eaten, I haven't gotten up. It's very easy to get carried away with this stuff. But you guys did a great job. This is super cool.
Yeah, I had the same reaction as Vaughn over in the chat. Just a couple of months. This is very impressive to be able to pull off too. So.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I've been programming for most of my life, so I've been doing that. Just I had never touched game dev itself, so yeah, it was something that I'd always thought was just like beyond me. And this excuse, like the last few months, a confluence of events kind of came together where I thought, okay, I want to actually try this, and I did, and yeah, it's been so enjoyable.
Real quick, who do we have to thank for the floor transition?
That's me. That was one of the first things I did, beautiful. Actually. Yeah, just doing the... Because we had the idea, obviously, the trivia tower thing, and yeah, the scene transition was an easy way of getting the logo in there again, and yeah, it was basically a Banjo-Kazooie inspired thing, because Banjo-Kazooie, one of my favorite childhood games, and the jiggy, kind of spinning jiggy transition when you go between areas, it was basically that, but with the MinnMax logo.
So you might have already mentioned it, Matt, but the note art, the sticky note art, since we just
that's all Nick, yeah.
That's all Nick?
Yeah, all that stuff is just phenomenal.
It's killer.
So many great little references to the Nordley shout out. There's a ton of stuff in here.
It was great because we were on a call. I think it was all of us, and we were just like, and Nick's like, yeah, I need some ideas, and we just started spitballing different ideas, like Jacob Geller's article and stuff like that. And he just created this stuff while we were on the call, and he's like, oh hey, what's this look like? And we were all just floored because it was all so good.
God, it's so as Vaughn mentioned in chat, the Easter eggs also being hints and stuff is just such a good way of. This is probably one of the games you could give to somebody who's not familiar with MinnMax stuff at all, and they could still get through it and get a little bit, enjoyment out of it with no knowledge of the jokes or anything. It's just, it's so good.
Yeah, that was definitely the plan from the get-go. It was like, okay, what we want to do is we want to have each floor have the clues to the the questions that you're gonna get asked, so that it is accessible for anybody. You don't need prior knowledge, and that was kind of how we wanted to feed into the getting better idea, was that you could come to this with no previous knowledge and you would learn by exploring the environments and gain knowledge and better yourself. So that was how we were kind of tying it into the theme.
Well, killer job on that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is how many hours did you have to go back through MinnMax to look through all this stuff? And did you have all of this stuff off the top of your head, every reference and stuff?
A lot of it kind of was off the top of my head, actually. Yeah, I think they were like getting the clips, the voice clips and stuff was just us jumping through a few YouTube videos from the MinnMax channel and just looking for those. But I think most of the references we just spitballed off our heads and came up with the questions and thought, oh yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, I went with it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it feels like it all ties together very well in terms of just how you divided up the different floors as well too.
Yeah, just to interject real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. I every so often Hanson brings up like, oh, we should have a wiki, and I'm like, I don't put me in charge of anything like that because I won't sleep. You folks, so many deep cuts. I was like, oh, these folks would make a great wiki.
But then we can't sleep either.
I think this should be the wiki. It should be, wikia.com/MinnMax,
it might as well
MinnMax, and it just has a download link for this, and that's all you get. So good.
Yeah, I see that these posters and stuff like that was so much fun of Nick doing some of these Wii Sports ones. It was
The
really
batter
good.
box and
amazing.
everything too. Yeah.
And there's just so much of it too. There's so many floors, and they all have their own little jokes.
Original,
and little...
dedicated pieces.
And even like mechanics, like there's the VR thing, and there's so much in here.
Yeah,
this reminds me of the old interactive encyclopedias. I had one for Star Wars, or the Encarta ones. I'm not sure if you're the ones that came on CDs.
If you hold E, you can charge the basketball shot. And like there's a few different mechanics. So like if you score from further away, you get more points. So you can get 2 and up to 3 if you score from far enough away. And then there was an issue we had at the start. Like I didn't have time to really they're just generic Unity physics. Whereas if I was like gonna make it easy or like more accessible, you would have to like massage the physics to make it a bit easier because it's very hard to actually score. But yeah, that was fun.
Were there any little mechanics and minigame sort of things like this that you wanted to get to and didn't have time for, or things that you wish you could have included?
Yeah, there was one clue mechanic that I half implemented but didn't end up going with, which was inspired by the Batman Riddler. You know the Riddler trophies where you had to line up like different elements of the environment to create an image. Yeah, I kind of started working on that, but then realized it was way too complicated. So I ended up not going with that. And then I got gamepad support in late, but it's not perfect, so I probably would have liked to have improved that a little. But yeah, I think most of the other stuff we got in, yeah.
Awesome, yeah, because there's a ton of it. I mean, we'll get to later. There's like you can pick up a phone and play a whole game on there. You can shoot the basketball around. Yeah, there's a ton going on.
Yeah, I think I really wanted to make each floor feel distinct and not like just bringing the same kind of mechanics again and again. Just because that was more interesting for me to like learn new things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what platform did you all use for this?
Unity.
Very cool. So was this your first time with Unity then? If you hadn't done, you said programming but not game dev.
Yeah, I mean I started with Unity. Actually, I started with Unreal and then moved to Unity when I started a couple of months ago. But I made one project basically prior to this, which was just some learning kind of project. But yeah, I think for all of us, it was our first time with Unity and with game dev in general. We're all pretty newcomers.
That's awesome. Do you see yourself working more in Unity? Either more on, I don't know. I mean, this kind of feels like a complete finished thing to me. So I don't know if you plan on working on this more, or just taking things you've learned and working on other projects.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely. I'm very happy with this, and I don't see much to work on with this, but I've already started more projects to work on myself. And Unity is where, I love Unity. The only thing I don't like about it is the company, because there's obviously a lot of issues there. But the actual tools are just phenomenal. I know Unreal is great, and I dabbled a little with Unreal, but I think for the kind of games that I want to make, the smaller scale stuff, and just because I had experience in C#, I did that for a little while in web development a long time ago, and that's easier for me to come to than C++, which I don't really have any experience in. So yeah.
Question for you, Matt.
Go for
it. This level in particular stuck out to me when I was watching the video of it. But who did you say did the music for this?
Nubbyy, yeah.
Nubbyy?
Mm-hmm.
Killer surf guitar.
Yes.
I did not expect to see that in any of the games. So
yeah, his music was just phenomenal. Yeah, when we had our meetings and he brought in, he's just like, okay, so I've been thinking about this for this floor, and it was pretty much everyone was spot on, and we were just like, yep, that nails it, and it was great.
Very cool, very cool.
I just wanted to comment on something you said, Matt, about always wanting to put more stuff in, or keep working on some bugs that are not finished. I think everyone who plays games should at least try to develop a game to see how it works, and then not criticize let's say the real devs so much, because they always want to make it better. It's just a question of time and money, I think. So
always harder than you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And you have
like
so
that is...
many ideas, and then you have to cut them. That's the worst part for me.
Exactly, yeah. Like, and it's opened up, like for me, it's opened up my mind to a lot of that, where I can see now clearly, okay, the things like shortcomings or error or bugs and things with games, like those aren't just forgotten or missed. It's a case of, no, we only had this much time and this many resources. We just had to prioritize things, and those ended up being deprioritized because we had bigger issues to worry about. And yeah.
And to me, it's like, I finish my work coding, and then I open up Unity to do my fun coding.
Yeah.
Right? So too bad there's not enough time to do it.
Yeah, and just real quick to go back to, you were talking about how you like Unity a lot as a program, but not necessarily the company these days. We do have a resource list for the jam that you can find either on the Discord or on the itch page. I haven't used it myself, but I hear really good things about GLaDONT has been catching some traction lately as a 3D engine alternative. That seems to be somewhat Unity-like, if people are interested in that. And the resource list is also fueled by everyone who is in the jam, just throwing out suggestions of things they've worked on also. So that's a really good starting point for anyone who wants to jump in, is go look at that. We have a bunch of options from low complexity engines like Dreams or Mario Maker, up all the way through Game Maker, RPG Maker, Unity, Unreal. So go check some stuff out there if anyone wants to find some examples. This is so great, the the DDR on your phone.
Yeah, like you're talking about, John, earlier, I wasn't expecting all the different variety of stuff too. Just look, there's a DDR minigame on the 4th floor. Is that where we are?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was really fun to make. The toughest part is figuring out how hard it is to sync audio and gameplay, because the actual like, you can't just start the audio playing and expect it to stay in sync with the game, because the audio system and the game, like the general frames, like the graphics rendering, don't run on the same clock, so they fall out of sync. So I ended up having to use some calculations to determine where the audio currently was in terms of like what bar of the song it was, based on the time signature and the tempo, and you have to like calculate that to determine where the arrows should be and how fast they should move, and that was a fun challenge.
That's fascinating.
Originally, Pavel had pitched the idea of having JeffM Quest where we would have JeffM learning the drums. Same exact thing as what you just did here, and we had the same realization. It was like, this is going to be so complicated to try and squeeze in.
Yeah, it's tough. You can tell that this is my art because it looks terrible.
No, I love it. Even just the little touches, like the little stars up on the banner there and stuff, like even without any of the text, I would know that you're going for Neopets here. So
yeah,
that says a lot about.
Oh, thank you.
Do we have any other fellow Neopets players in chat today?
Not for a decade or two, but at some point.
So we've been there though. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was. They were all very cool to watch Hansen and then play through, but you could tell Hansen was getting emotional playing through this one as well.
Oh God, yeah. I wasn't sure if I was gonna say anything. That little recording at the beginning of this game.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was trying to get away from it. Like he was a little too much, but it was really sweet to watch.
Yeah, watching, it was such an experience to watch that. Like, seeing everybody's games, it was fantastic. But for the first time to see somebody play something that I'd created and with the team that I've worked on, was just something else. Honestly, it was, exhilarating.
Yeah, I bet so.
If
Yeah,
I
think-
might,
Go for it.
real quick, because my battery is dying. I just wanted to say that I think Hanson and JeffM are both just really taking it back in a great way, and just super impressed by everything that was created. So I think it was fantastic. Everybody just like knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. And especially, I was really glad to see that Charles was on there too. Like having a developer's perspective on that. That was
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was
it's
really
cool
cool.
if they snagged him.
Yeah.
I love that as this goes on. So I've done a ton of game jams over the years, and the one thing with kind of like linear, lightly calling this a story experience, but you know, things that progress through linearly. Most of them tend to trail off and have less content towards the end and just kind of wrap up quickly, and it's clear like they didn't get to everything they wanted to get to. But this one, it doesn't feel like that at all. Like there are just as many new mechanics on the 5th floor as there were on the 1st floor. You know what I mean? Like it's super impressive that it seems like you all got to pretty much everything you wanted to, and it feels like a coherent thought from start to finish, which I love.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that was like we didn't use any strong project management tools, but I do think we just planned out pretty well in that we went through and we knew how many floors. Like the format of the game really worked to our advantage there, where we knew, okay, we have 5 floors, so we know we have to have 5 distinct things, and we basically wanted to, you know, try to include one. Well, I think, we went for 3 questions each floor, so it was 3 clues basically. So again, we were just breaking it down, and we knew how each floor would be structured, so we could approach those equally without having to have it like taper off, as you said.
Right. And I think I've brought this up for just about every game we've talked about, but it's so important to have those constraints on yourself, which are either, you know, by the side quests can help with that, or the theme can help with that, or just the time limit can help with that. But having that finite structure to your game that you know it's going to be the 5 floors, I think helps a lot with focus, rather than just being like, let's just make as many trivia floors as we can get to, and then you end up with, you know, 17 and a half floors, and you're like, oh god, we didn't get to everything, this doesn't make any sense anymore. So scoping it well from the beginning, I think, goes a long way.
Yeah, that's something I think we did pretty well, but I also think that it's something I want to get a lot better at, because that is just, I think Paul was saying it before, I think, around just having to, not always having to cut things, and knowing how to actually take that into account from the get-go is probably a very valuable skill.
And like I said, I've done somewhere upwards of 20, 25 game jams in my days, and I'm still terrible at that. I still come up with a million ideas I want to put in. It's hard, but you all did a really, really great job on this.
Yeah, I think it's also true for all software development, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's not exclusive to game jams.
With it
It's
on a
just,
daily basis.
Yeah.
Matt, have you happened to put any time into Dreams ever?
Yes, but not on the creation side, which is weird considering, like, yeah. I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, it's funny because if I think back to when I started, like, because I really love Dreams, I think it's fantastic. But I always like looked at it and thought, I don't want to create things. I just want to play what other people have created.
Very
and now I'm
ironic
doing
now.
it. Yeah, exactly. It's so weird how much my brain and my attitude has shifted since this. But I should go back to that.
The art design of this and just the way things are laid out and the way it plays, I don't know, just a lot of everything about this game reminded me a ton of Dreams, and it makes me very much want to go back and put some time into designing stuff in there again.
Yeah,
I really hope they bring that to PC eventually.
Yeah,
never gonna happen, but it'd be cool.
That was the big thing for me, where I spent like 5 hours learning tutorials in Dreams, and I was like, wait, what am I doing? I know how to use Unity. I could have done this in half an hour in Unity.
Yeah, there's things that aren't super great about it, but it's cool to have it on a console.
Yeah.
All right, and we have hit credits here on Trivia Tower Getting Better Edition. Did you have any final thoughts here, Matt? Thanks so much for answering all of our questions and everything.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for letting us showcase it again. And thanks to everybody for organizing this. Like, that alone is an immense effort. And thanks for everyone for participating, because it was great to see what everyone made.
Yeah,
Well said.
this was a ton of fun.
Very cool. This is a good spot to hit credits on MinnHax for this year as well too. So.
Yeah, I think that is going to do it. So thanks everyone for coming out. This will again be up on YouTube if you missed any of this, and I'll be posting that hopefully later today. Thanks so much to everyone who participated. All the games were amazing. You all did a great job. Thanks to Shazirah for being kind of our liaison between us regular folk and the MinnMax folk, and getting this all sorted and getting us all the Discord permissions and events and everything that we needed. Thanks so much to Stevo and Ray Luaza. It was a blast. Even just before this started, just planning everything with those guys was super fun. And we hope to see you all again next year. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I know Stevo and Ray Luaza have both expressed interest in being involved again next year, and hopefully we get even better turnout.
I think
yeah.
we're all looking forward to the completely unconfirmed next year MinnHax.
That's right.
Exactly that. No, and
I'm
thank
so
you, John,
excited.
for being our game jam expert. This is awesome. Thank you, everybody.
You all three of you did so much work. I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled. It's so heartwarming on this end.
Yeah, I definitely got a little emotional watching the Ben and Jeff and Charles stream of everything.
Aww.
I was very proud of all of our little jammers.
Agreed. I was getting ready to travel, and I was like an hour and a half late.
Yeah.
Didn't watch it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. I'm
For
gonna
those
wrap
of
up.
you-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
For those of you who have not gotten it yet, there is a dev club role you can grab out of role assignments. Just generally for year-long dev engagement on this Discord, there is the community dev and coding channel you should check out and hang out on. And you are totally welcome to talk shop, share projects there as well, year-round.
Yes. Don't let the jam ending stop you from working on your projects, for sure. All right, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to wrap up the recording here. Thanks so much, everyone, and we will hopefully see you in, let's call it 11 months or so.
It's been a pleasure.
Later.
Awesome.